So let's take a look at one super freaky gene stealer, this week's Warhammer releases, and just what happened with Skaventide going on sale. Time for a roundup of the Warhammer news over the past week or so. Hello and welcome back to Warspets Tactics, where today I thought I'd do a catch-up video for the Warhammer news that's been happening over the past week, just covering a whole ton of small news bits and releases that maybe didn't need their entire video all to themselves. I'm going to try and keep this one short and sweet as I'm super ill right now, but still wanted to talk through a whole bunch of fun stuff. First up, I was kind of intrigued as to just how the Skaventide release would go. In the past, we've had Age of Sigmar box sets like the Dominion one seemingly be very overproduced by Games Workshop, so they were available a very long time into the future. And then with the enormous Great Big Skaventide box set this time round, it looked like they were basically doing Leviathan again, but for Age of Sigmar rather than Warhammer 40k. It certainly felt like there was more hype around this box than basically any Age of Sigmar box set that they've ever made. And when I took a look at it for the value of the box set last week, about 70% of you guys rated it as an overall better deal than Warhammer 40k Leviathan. Even if maybe by the objective numbers, it felt kind of similar to me in terms of discount on what Games Workshop would normally sell separately. It seems that over the weekend, Games Workshop haven't sold out of this. Looks like they've made far more boxes than people wanted to buy, at least straight away. And looks like if you want to pick up one of the copies of this box set, then you should be able to. I think it's led some people to the assumption that the box set wasn't super popular, but based on the evidence and things, I don't really think that that's the case. Age of Sigmar does always sell far less than Warhammer 40k, and that's to be expected. But it does seem, at least from the sales data that I've seen, that it was genuinely very popular on launch day. It's just Games Workshop have made a fairly massive amount of these. It's not like some of the Warhammer 40k box sets where they seem to deliberately constrain supply, and then they sell out absolutely immediately like the Chaos Space Marine ones. In any case, looking at the Games Workshop web store, and it still seems to be available in all regions there, both the USA and Canada one, the UK and EU one, and the Australia and New Zealand one, all locations still reporting Skaventide in stock, though quite a lot of independent gaming stores have been a little bit variable on this. Looks like out of my channel affiliates links down in the video description, Element Games in the UK still has copies of it for £128, and Fenris Workshop in Canada still has it for $288 Canadian, though Gap Games in Australia and Wargame Portal in the USA both sold out. Generally though, I wouldn't make this into a negative story when it's probably a good thing overall. It means that any hobbyists who do want to pick up this kit will be able to, and that's hardly a bad thing. It's the way that you'd hope Games Workshop might try and do that normally, but they don't seem to. And it does mean that if you want a Skaventide box set, they're probably going to be available for some time to come. As with Leviathan, compared with basically any of Games Workshop's other offerings, you get more plastic and stuff for your money than elsewhere, so quite nice for Sigmar players to have it in good supply if it appeals. One miniature from last week that I didn't get around to talking about in a video previously, it was the Malstrain Alpha. This was revealed the previous Monday, and Games Workshop seemed to keep the new biohorrors coming for the Necromunda Gene Stealer cult infestation, it would seem. This freaky looking Gene Stealer is a Malstrain Alpha, apparently one of the big boss Gene Stealers of Necromunda, apparently a warped direct descendant of the original patriarch of the Shattered Remnants of Hive Secundus, and certainly looks like a sinister horror version of a Gene Stealer, which are already bad enough really. Perhaps the weirdest, freakiest thing being the one great big muscly arm he's got there. Apparently he can warp and change size and shape, and very few who encounter them live to tell the tale. And this one will be a Forge World resin miniature like the Malstrain Coalescence we saw the other day. Kind of a shame on that front really. I feel like people much prefer to work with plastic. I must admit, when I look at these ones and the Malstrain Coalescence and things, I don't immediately think Forge World resin, but it does mean it'll probably be a bit more expensive as a result. Let me know what you think of it. I feel like it's a pretty cool model overall. Reception of it's been pretty good online from what I've seen. Otherwise, on miniature releases front, Games Workshop's free miniature of the month is a free Kroot Carnivore if you happen to be passing by one of their official Warhammer stores. These guys are going to be available from the 6th of July, and normally if you bought Kroot Mercenaries from Games Workshop directly, they'd be around about £3 or $6-ish. Maybe not the worst if you're passing very close and it's not inconvenient to call in. You usually get just a random miniature from the sprue, though bear in mind that not all stores get good supply and some of them might sell out quite fast. A few have some criteria for how you're able to get them. Some of them just allow you to pick them up and take them away. Some have other requirements, like saying you have to assemble them in store and things. If it is super convenient and you're passing through town and you could get to a Warhammer store though, could just be worth checking in it on or around the 6th. Could be a way to land a free miniature. For this week's releases, we've got Age of Sigmar again for pre-order this coming Saturday. So Saturday the 6th of July, for release coming on Saturday the 20th of July. We've had the Skaventide box set, so this is basically the supporting material for the new edition of Age of Sigmar. There's the solo release of the core book, though I feel like for almost everyone you're probably going to get a better deal on that, just picking up the unique one that comes in Skaventide from people reselling individually on eBay and places. There's the General's Handbook 2024 to 25. There's the Fire and Jade Spearhead game mode. That one basically more bits from the Skaventide box. So the terrain bits that come in there, the gaming board and the cards. A set of 23 faction cards for reference and things that basically look like the index datasheet type cards from Warhammer 40k. They're the physical reference sheet things and they'll be available for download digitally as well. And then they've got a bunch of Grand Alliance dice for the different factions. So Order and Chaos and Death and things like that. In any case, that'll all be going up for pre-order on the 6th. Feel free to check out any of the channel's discount links down in the video description when they do go on pre-order. As ever, can be a way to help support the channel while saving a little money versus Games Workshop's prices. Otherwise, for this week's releases, it looks like it's the final release of that Morvenn Vahl book that they've teased a few times already. Morvenn Vahl, Spear of Faith by Jude Reed. As it goes for Warhammer 40k, perhaps a little bit more anticipated book than some, maybe. This one's going to be the first novel that she properly features in, so getting a proper look at her backstory, defending Ophelia 7 from Chaos. And Games Workshop have made this one of their books where they do a great big limited release type thing, a fancy case, a different binding for the book, a smaller book written as if from an in-universe sister, and a bunch of art prints and things, also signed by the author. That would only be from Games Workshop's web store, and it costs significantly more than getting the regular book. I've seen at least a few people anticipating this one though. They're maybe not quite like the End and Death for the Horus Heresy, so I'd guess that scalping probably won't be quite as crazy for this one, though that's probably saying things a bit too early. Games Workshop's announced a Grand Narrative Warhammer 40k event. This one's going to be the 22nd to the 24th of November 24, and it's going to tie in with their World Champions of Warhammer, a dual event that's being held both in Atlanta in the USA and Warhammer World in Nottingham in the UK. The idea behind these ones is they have quite a lot of lore, lots of cosplay and things, and games tying together towards a greater narrative which writes a little bit of the 40k backstory in one corner of the galaxy. This one was set in Chalnath apparently, which we had a fair bit of lore for in 9th edition. We had the Imperium, Genestealer Cult, Tau and later Orc forces all fighting in the same area. Again, it's one of the war zones where basically all the factions could be fighting, so plenty of chance for minor plots and things to take place. No idea if they'll focus the narrative scope of 40k on that later in the year to back it up. The main place they're focused on so far have been the Tyrannic War and then the Pariah Nexus. Otherwise, for miniature reveals, there's also Lady Helmawr for Necromunda in a new Spyro suit. Kind of interesting that they're doing a resculpt of a character with a previous model. Apparently she's going to be delving into Hive Secundus herself, equipped with a relic Spyro, her customary weapons from the previous miniature with the sword and spear, plus some claws. Again, like a bunch of Necromunda releases, she'll be a Forge World Red in one, so will be a bit more expensive than most. Finally, before we wrap up, I thought I'd just mention the channel's miniature release this month. As suggested by you guys, the Iron Enforcers get some heavy assault segways. There's some options to fill them as either a range or melee unit, and maybe could be a cavalry stand-in potentially with some taser lancers. Currently, the 3D printing STLs are $7 for these guys, plus the Oppressor transport vehicle with code ATL via Thangs down in the video description, or $34 for the physically printed miniatures via Wargame Portal in the USA. The other miniature release this month is the Oppressor, a modular transport vehicle with tracks versus wheels and a choice of weapons on the turret and a detailed interior. Hopefully could be usable enough to represent a variety of transports. That one's a little bit more from Wargame Portal for the physical print at $45, but again is included in the $7 Thanks sub this month. In any case, I'll leave that there for this one. Videos might be a little bit thin on the ground over the next few days unless I do some recovering fairly quickly. We'll see on that front. But otherwise, looking forward to talking through some army lists in Pariah Nexus. Let me know your thoughts on all the 40k miniature reveals, new releases, and more down in the comments. And feel free to subscribe to Auspex Tactics if you'd like to see more like this. I do tend to post new videos most days. Finally, if you have been enjoying all the videos on the channel, I would just like to mention that Auspex Tactics does have a Patreon page as well, and you can find that linked in the video description if you'd like to help support and keep all the content coming. Channel patrons do get a fair few advantages, seeing certain videos early, regular votes to see what sort of things happen next on the channel, and automatic entry into the regular prize giveaways with a chance to win some big model kits each month. If any of that sounds good to you, or you'd just like to help support, the link is down in the video description. In any case, a massive thank you for listening, and I'll hope to see you guys next time.